Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. Welcome to another Chelsea News Daily video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about N'Golo Kante signing a new contract. I'm going to be talking about the future of Hudson Odoi. I'm going to be talking about Loftus, and I'm going to be talking about linking us with a move for Aouar from Lyon. Anyway, you guys, if you like the channel and you like the content I produce for you, hit that like button. Help me get more than 500 likes for today's video. Press the bell notification button as well. And later on today, I'm going to be releasing the match preview for the game against Tottenham tomorrow. So make sure you'll still stay tuned later on tonight. Anyway, moving on to the first point for today's video. That's in regards to N'Golo Kante signing a new 5-year deal worth about 300k per week. He's effectively doubled his contract. And now that he has, maybe Kante's going to stop being such a cheapskate when it comes to paying for meals when he's out with the squads. But yeah, this is good news. I was saying this earlier on in the last video I released this week, and it's great that we're signing these key players on contract extensions. Now, I've been talking about Kante for a while. I was the first one to break to you guys the fact that he did want a contract extension. I explained the context in regards to why it was even being linked with Paris Saint-Germain in the first place. And now this whole mini saga has ended finally today. Now, one person that does need to get credit for securing these contracts for our key players is Marina. Now, of course, Marina isn't the most popular figure at Chelsea with quite a lot of the fans, but it's always good to be objective in life. And she's played a major part in persuading these guys to continue with their careers at Chelsea by signing these big long-term contracts. Now that Alonso and Kante are sorted, hopefully that means David Luiz will get a new contract soon, and hopefully once that's all finalised, the club can spend all their time and efforts persuading Eden to sign that new contract extension. But before I end this first point, of course, with Kante signing this new contract, it does tell us that there is going to be an exciting future ahead. Now hear me out for a second. This basically tells us that if you're giving the key players such massive contracts, I mean, for Kante to double his wages to be earning 300k per week is incredible. That tells you that Chelsea will obviously be letting players leave to free up some space in that wage budget. Now, the three players I think of immediately are Gary Cahill, who's on 150k per week, Cesc Fabregas, who's around 180 to 200k per week, and of course Danny Drinkwater. Now, if you remove these guys from the wage budget, that's nearly 500k per week you save. And you can imagine that if Kante is getting about 300,000 per week, how much is Eden Hazard gonna get? Now, I was telling you guys beforehand in my Eden Hazard videos, expect him to sign a contract that's about 400k plus. Obviously, he does want parity to be the best paid player in the league, not only at Chelsea. I don't know you guys, as I'm saying, exciting times ahead. Moving on to the second story of today, that's in regards to Aouar, and I've definitely butchered his name. Anyway, Aouar plays for Lyon. He does play on the left-hand side of a midfield three, and the guy is a very good player, and he's starting to cause a lot of waves now in Ligue 1. Now, this report is coming from RMC Sport, a French publication, of course. I haven't heard anything in particular to Aouar, but of course, when you read the article from RMC Sport, it does really give the context away. And basically what they're stating is that Chelsea have just monitored him to check his progress to see what happens. Now, of course, we can be hypothetical. We can say things like, well, how can we be looking at this guy if you've got guys like Ruben and Mason Mount? But I've always thought, when you're going to be hypothetical, you need to be hypothetical in the right context. And what is that right context in particular? Well, the context is, if you're a big club, you're going to be looking at players everywhere and anywhere. It's just what happens. You have to always have safety measures in place. Let's say, for example, one of your key players gets a big injury, is out for the season. Let's say, players decide they want to leave. What if Kovacic says, you know what, I want to stay at Real Madrid now that they're offering me a more prominent role in the team? What if Ruben says, you know what, I'm tired of being at Stamford Bridge, I need to find pastures new? That's just some examples as to why a club like Chelsea will be looking at someone like Aouar, even though we are filled up in that position currently. And I'll give you guys some context as well. Now, a few weeks ago, we did send a scout to watch the Lille vs Lyon game. Now, it makes a lot of sense, and let's be serious, I'm sure tons of other clubs sent their scouts to that game as well. There are so many interesting, exciting players on both teams that a lot of clubs are going to be interested at, so it makes sense that Chelsea are going to be there to actually monitor the player and see what he's about. Now, Aouar is a great player. He's got a great left foot. What I love about him is his flair. I've always loved the players that play with that flair because it shows their confidence and their ability. They excite the fans and the crowd as well. And of course, they're just amazing to watch. It is interesting in regards to how clubs like Lyon, use their youth and how they bring them into the first team, and how clubs like Chelsea do that as well. Now, of course, with Chelsea, with a lot of their youth players have been amazing, for the under 18s, etc. throughout their careers, but how many of them have been given that opportunity to really show what they're about? Now, when you compare that to a club like Lyon, they sold a lot of key players, guys like Lacazette, for example, and instead of just signing players, they looked to within their academy, and this is why guys like, Aouar came, Toussaint, Cornet, etc, etc. And it does get you thinking, imagine if a club like Lyon had access to our academy. What would guys like Boga be doing right now, or Hudson Odoi, or Loftus or Mason Mount? It is very interesting to think about, but to be honest, I think we all kind of know the answer. These players would be much better right now, and all of the big clubs are going to keep their eyes out for those players. Moving on to the third story of this week, I need to talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, you guys already know this already. I've already told you that Hudson-Odoi doesn't want to sign this new contract just yet. He isn't very confident in regards to his future at Chelsea, in regards to whether he is going to get a fair chance at the first team. Now, reports have been coming out just emphasising the points I've already made beforehand, but interestingly, some stuff came out from Chelsea's plan with Callum Hudson-Odoi, and what they're thinking is, ideally, they would love for him to stay within the Premier League, play for a club like a Burnley or a Southampton, which they have spoken to, and then maybe in 1 year or 1.5 years, Hudson-Odoi will be ready. There will be a spot in the first team once guys like Pedro or Willian have left. Now, for me personally, I can understand why this would be a difficult situation for Callum Hudson-Odoi. If I was in his shoes, I would just leave. Look for a club that are going to use him, that do have plans for his development to help him improve as a player so he can fulfill his potential. And it makes no surprise as to why he's going to be reluctant to commit to Chelsea when he sees his guys like Sancho and Reece Nelson doing bits in the Bundesliga. And on top of that, you've got Gareth Southgate, who's given a very clear message saying that it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're playing and you're playing well, you're going to get that opportunity to represent your national team. Now, I can give you further context in regards to Hudson-Odoi's situation at Chelsea. I can tell you that his dad isn't particularly happy with Chelsea. He's one of the main reasons as to why Hudson-Odoi hasn't committed to signing a new contract. Both parties don't want to make that same mistake. They don't want to be another failed statistic at Chelsea of another failed youth player. Now, I know there's going to be a few people that will react negatively towards this information, but I need to give you guys some context. When it came to Mbappe and Rabiot, from Monaco and Paris Saint-Germain at the time, it was their mothers that really helped them stake that claim in the first team. And how did their mothers help? Well, they put pressure on the club and on the coach to start using their sons. Otherwise, they would start to consider their future and start looking at other clubs. It's what happens in football. It's always going to happen. It's never going to change. So it's really nothing to get upset over. But anyway, moving on to the two clubs that Chelsea are looking at, Southampton and Burnley. And wow, when I saw this news, I couldn't believe it. Burnley, Brexit Burnley, long ball Burnley, rugby Burnley. Come on, Chelsea. And it's like, when you think about how Chalobah and Bamford were shagged playing for Burnley, how can you even talk to this club anymore? I thought there was a thing where Chelsea have a blacklist for clubs they won't work with anymore, or they won't send their loan players to. Burnley can't be in that mix, I'm sorry. Hudson-Odoi is not going to learn anything playing for Burnley. This whole nonsense about how, obviously if you're playing, the man's game, you're running hard, fighting, knowing what it is to fight for every point, yeah, it helps in a way, but that's not going to be the difference that makes him fulfill his world-class potential. Just think about the quality of his minutes at Burnley. What's he really going to do there? He's got no one to really link up with. He's just going to end up being like a Aaron Lennon winger who just stays out wide, has no support, he can't cut inside to take shots. Doesn't make any sense. Southampton as well. Now, Southampton have fallen all the way down. They're never coming back again. It doesn't make sense to send this guy to a relegation candidate team. When you're a relegation team, that's when all the pressure comes in. That's when coaches might get sacked. New coaches might come in. And if a new coach does come in, he's going to have his own tactical ideas. And you really have to think, are a club like Southampton going to rest all their hopes on a Chelsea loanee player that's barely played any Premier League minutes. Most likely not. And we've seen this mistake happen so many times, infamously with Gael Kakuta, going to clubs like Fulham and Bolton, 2 relegation teams, did not help him at all. All they cared about was shutting up shop and fighting for every single point they could get. So how's a flair player really going to prosper under teams like that? And if anything, it tells us that we desperately need a director of football, because the guys who are doing their jobs, because the guys that are running things behind the scenes aren't doing a good enough job if you're looking at clubs like Burnley and Southampton. Now, I can give you guys some exclusive news when it comes to the director of football. Marina actually held a meeting with the ex-Paris Saint-Germain director of football, Enrique, just talking about a few things in regards to his availability, etc, etc. But by now, honestly, you guys, I would have thought that we would have secured the director of football by now. So it is pretty annoying. Now, you guys might be thinking, but Nini, why don't we just exercise buyback fees for these players? It doesn't make sense. Let him play for a club like Burnley for a year and a half. Let him leave the club for a team that are going to use him week in, week out, then sign him back at a future date. Now, that makes a lot of sense. And it got me thinking, why don't Chelsea ever do this? Now, yes, they've done it a few times for guys like Traore and Nathan Ake, but why don't they do this every single time? And it's pretty obvious. We always keep forgetting about the loan army. The loan army generates so much money for the club. Now, you've got to realise, if Hudson Odoi is on a year and a half loan, look at the loan fee it's going to generate for that. And then look at the club subsidising his wages, meaning that Chelsea are basically getting money for nothing, which basically means that Chelsea are making profit off the player. But it's going to get to this point every single time. Until we learn to put progress over profit, we're not going to see youth players getting that opportunity to become the next John Terry. And to end on the final story, that's in regards to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and reports coming out stating that he is going to reevaluate his future when it comes to January. Now, it's really nothing to worry about that much. It's not stating that he's looking for a move. It's just stating that he just wants to get that reassurance from Sarri that he is going to be good for the season, because there's been many times that Loftus-Cheek has been disappointed. So it makes sense that he does want reassurances. Now, before the season started during the summer, I did tell you that Schalke were a club interested in signing Ruben Loftus-Cheek on loan for this season. Ruben was very interested in the idea as well, because he knew that with Goretzka gone, he can play in his traditional position in the team. Well, the Times have stated that Schalke are still monitoring Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It makes a lot of sense. They're doing pretty poorly so far this season. Their midfield is much weaker without Goretzka, and they really need that type of box-to-box midfield threat in their team. So that move could make a lot of sense for Ruben, because he'll have that opportunity to finally play in his key position and to finally develop and improve as a player. You guys know my opinion. I still personally find it crazy that Sarri looks at Barkley over Loftus-Cheek. The only reason why I think this is because I've always thought, isn't it much harder to coach a player to become better technically and better on the ball and better with his decision making, compared to getting a player to improve defensively off the ball? That's just my opinion. I thought that's how it works. So I don't understand why Sarri puts this emphasis on Barkley's tactical abilities when he really doesn't provide anything from an offensive point of view. And if you're Ruben, you might be thinking, well, I've scored a hat-trick, I scored another goal, I've been doing bits this month, yet I'm still getting overlooked. There's times when I'm still not on the bench, and there's times where guys like Barkley are playing over me. Can I really keep continuing to do this? I need to speak to Sarri to really reassess everything, and just to make sure we're still on the same wavelength. Let's see what happens. Of course, when January comes, it should be exciting for me. When it comes to January, my focus is really on who's going to be leaving compared to who we might potentially sign. But anyway, you guys, that's going to be the end for today's video. In the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions on some of the stories that have come out this week. Thank you for watching. Remember, as I stated, there is going to be a match preview for the Spurs game coming out later tonight, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm going to be sponsored by a company called NetBet for the video, so thank you to them for sponsoring me. You guys, I'm going to keep it moving. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.